Hi everyone, my name is Tom Langmacher. I'm going to show you how I was saved from a lifetime of chronic back pain. This is a simple 2-minute stretch and strengthening exercise you can do at home. I promise you've never seen anything like this before. I'm going to show you how I did it, but more importantly, why this works.
When I was young, I was a third-generation feed store family in rural Nebraska. I unloaded feed every day, all day by the tons. I was a strong guy. I was so strong I thought I was invincible. One day I lifted an engine block off my truck and set it on the driveway. The exact thing you're told not to do. Lift a heavy load, twist and bend. Well, something in my back popped and I was thrown to the ground. I spent 2-3 weeks in bed, crawling to the bathroom back and forth, in excruciating pain. In time, I got better. I went to doctors and chiropractors and physical therapists and had Reiki and massage. I tried everything. But every 3-4 months, I would get this reoccurring back spasm ever since then. And I could never get rid of it. I could never get my spine back into neutral posture. This went on for 30 years. I would have good spurts of time when I would always have a nagging pain, but I wouldn't have back spasms till every 3-4 months. And then when that would happen, I'd be back on the ground again. It was debilitating. Doctors said I should maybe consider surgery, the kind where they nip away at your vertebra, your intervertebral discs, so that they could relieve some of the pinching of the nerves that's going on, or fuse the vertebra, which is supposed to do that also. Well, they all admitted that there's no guarantees with that, and it's invasive surgery. We've all seen what's happened to Tiger Woods. He's had 5 surgeries. So if there's 5 surgeries going on, that just tells me there's something about spinal surgery that's not exactly figured out yet. I resisted that. I bought every gadget you could think of. I bought inversion tables, lumbar compression belts, lumbar rollers, exercise balls. I would do a lot of physical therapy with professionals. The thing about physical therapy, they want you to do stretching. But the problem with stretching is it involves bending or twisting your spine. And that's what was causing my problem. It's this muscle network that's holding your spine together that was hurting and spasming. And the last thing I wanted to do was twist and bend it. So I couldn't get relief that way. And when it comes to lumbar rollers, the same thing. That muscle network is constantly being triggered, and I can't get full muscle extension. I can't get relief in a lumbar roller. Same with a compression belt. Yeah, that would relieve while I'm wearing it, but I didn't want to wear a compression belt all the time, and it just masked the problem. It didn't solve the problem. And frankly, all of these things helped a little. They helped in ways that kept me going. I could still play basketball, and I could still work and go to do sports, but I always had nagging pain. Nothing solved my problem. I was never able to get back to neutral posture. One day I was working for Apple, and I did a lot of traveling. I did a lot of desk sitting at computers, naturally. I don't know what was worse, sitting at a computer or air travel, where you're confined in a chair and you can't move much, and eventually your back starts hurting. One day when we were landing in San Jose, I was getting off the plane and my back went out again and threw me to the ground. I was laying there on the tarmac. People were having to walk around me, and it was embarrassing. I couldn't move. I managed to crawl back into the plane and waited for them to send the plane back to Portland, where I was living at the time. Went home and got in bed and spent another 2 weeks trying to recuperate. Doctors gave me pain medication and anti-inflammatories, and actually that helped. But it didn't fix it. It just got rid of the pain and got me back to work. And I didn't want to keep doing painkillers for the rest of my life. I certainly didn't want to get addicted to painkillers. And so that was the moment I decided I have to do something about this. It had been 30 years since my first muscle spasm. It was like clockwork. Maybe 3 or 4 times a year I would get a muscle spasm, and it would just affect my entire life. It would affect my ambitions and my hopes and dreams about my future. So I decided I had to solve this. I quit my job at Apple, and I set about finding a solution. Well, inversion tables are an interesting study, and I looked at that, and I, of course, was using them all those years, and I never really got relief from inversion tables, but I liked how they were using gravity to help me. The problem with inversion tables is you're upside down, your spine is being pulled straight, which is out of neutral posture, and your center of gravity is being locked to your ankles. Your brain is sending muscle triggers to your multifidus muscle group, these muscles that are holding your spine or protecting your spine. So when you're inverted, you're not your muscles at least aren't able to relax. So you don't get decompression. You can't get decompression. That explains to me why I never got relief from an inversion table. So I like the idea, though, that gravity was a powerful force. Actually, it is the culprit that causes our spines to get worse over time because it's constantly pushing down on us, and it over time will change our muscle memory. The multifidus muscle group, for instance, that holds the spine together, retains that memory every day as gravity pushes you down. And so I thought, well, there must be some way to use gravity correctly, not upside down, that won't trigger this multifidus muscle group that connects to every spine. Well, when you think about it, this spine is very much like a spring. It's meant to absorb shock when you're moving, running, walking, and it springs like a spring. So it's this spring that gets out of whack when you have spinal anomalies like kyphosis or lordosis or scoliosis. Once it starts and the muscles remember that position, it's really hard to retrain those muscles to go back into neutral posture. Again, that's where physical therapies and stretches and massage and all that is supposed to help you. But if you can't get this really tight, strong muscle network to elongate, to get full extension, then you're never going to get neutral posture back. You're never going to reset your spring. Well, I pondered and pondered, and I tried all these things, and one day it hit me, okay, what if I use gravity in an upright position, but focus on the fact that this neutral spine should be in neutral posture while you're suspended. That's why I developed Gravity Belt. It holds the body in neutral posture while you're suspended. What's more, it holds it at the center of gravity. The center of gravity is such a key to this because the center of gravity is just basically where's your neutral balancing point. What point are you in equilibrium with gravity? And your brain's always aware of where your center of gravity is. And it's sending muscle triggers to this muscle network. And I like to talk about the multifidus muscle group because it's easy to understand. It's connected to every single vertebra, and there's a unique multifidus muscle for every single vertebra. And so when the brain's trying to send you signals to these muscles, it's telling those muscles when to react. This is an involuntary thing because, this is such a complex idea of being able to support your spine. It's not like an arm or a limb. It's an involuntary trigger. And so based on your center of gravity, if that changes, so does your multifidus muscle trigger network. So if I lift my arm, my center of gravity has changed. If I lift my leg, my center of gravity has changed. In any direction, the center of gravity moves a little bit one way or another in 3D space. Well, if you suspend, paying attention to where your center of gravity is, but also retain the neutral posture, I theorize that you should be able to relax that muscle and let gravity pull you back into neutral posture. And I spent quite a bit of time developing this perfect structure that would do that very thing. When the spine is in Gravity Belt, it's held on your lumbar curve, but while respecting the lumbar curve. And your brain is tricked into thinking that it's got no work to do because your spine is in neutral posture, your center of gravity is where it should be, and you can just relax. And sure enough, that's exactly what it did. It relaxed me, and it relaxed my muscles. And when I first did this in 2014, I got this huge alignment adjustment. I could feel it and hear it. And I'm not sure exactly what adjusted, but it happened a couple of times over a period of a week, and I've never had that again. And I instantly felt relief. It's doing it because my muscles are able to relax because it's in neutral posture held from my center of gravity. And what's more, it also allows me to relax my hip flexor group. The iliopsoas, which connects to your spine and your pelvis, it has a lot to do with your posture as well. And that's why they say drop your pelvis when you're relaxing, because it also gives you a chance to get full muscle extension with your hip. So your spine through your hip flexor all simultaneously gets full muscle extension. And once that happens, you're finally able to get some kind of decompression in the discs. This is the hard thing. Getting decompression in the disc, which typically, you associate disc hernias as your back pain problem. Well, unless you operate, which is not advisable, you can't really get decompression unless you relax these muscles. And if you can't relax those muscles in other normal stretches, what do you do? So hence gravity belt. This worked for me, and this was in 2014, and I haven't had a muscle spasm since. Here it is, 2021, and I can jump up and down. I can ride a tractor or ride an excavator. I can dig ditches. I pour concrete. I have never had back pain since. I get tired muscles, and then I just go stretch, and that helps. It helps just to stretch your muscles. But I don't ever get muscle spasms anymore. I don't have the degenerative spinal anomalies like lordosis and kyphosis and scoliosis. You can see back in 1994, when I was having one of my episodes, how my spine would curve. I have a curve here, and it curves up here, and then my whole pelvis would rotate because it was pulling my spine out of position because my muscles were spazzing. They were tightening, and they completely lost the idea of where my neutral posture was because they were spasming. And that's the thing about muscle memory. Once it starts to remember a new and incorrect position, it'll retain that. And until you give it muscle extension back, until you extend those muscles to full extension, it's going to think that's where its new position is supposed to be. That's why stretching is such a key in general for our bodies. It's just that this muscle network is such a hard one to stretch. So with gravity belt, not only can you get full muscle extension from your spine to your hip flexor, but you also have this ideal exercise routine for strengthening. Now, strengthening is an interesting thing. When we talk about core strength, we're usually thinking of setups or crunches, and there's a couple different ways to do crunches. One is laying on your back and just doing setups. Another one is on a machine where you're lifting your knees. And when you think about it, if you're on a machine, you're holding your whole body up and you're activating all your chest muscles, and you're also working the rest of these lower muscles. It's not an ideal way to go because you're burning so much energy and sending so many muscle triggers all over your body. It's hard to get relaxation, first of all, between reps. When you're doing crunches or setups, you're contorting your spine in a way that's not ideal as well. So that's why this is the best way to do crunches. Once you're in it and you're in neutral posture and it's suspending you, you lift your knees to about 90 degrees. It retains the spine in perfect neutral posture, and it doesn't target any muscles in your chest or in your shoulders. It's only working the muscles in your core and in your legs, of course, but it's retaining the integrity of your spinal curve. When you do crunches on the gravity belt, I only do 20 reps a day, and it feels like a new bounce in my step every time I do it. It's the most amazing feeling. So it's the stretch and strengthening exercise for the 21st century. In order to make this belt, one of the things that made this work is all the different layers that go into it. This has to be a strong structure to retain your spinal curve. Every one of these grips has composited layers. There's 7 different layers in every belt. One of the strong layers is this Kydex plastic. It's an orthopedic heat molded plastic that helps to retain the integrity of the structure and hence the spinal curvature protection. And what also is nice about this is you can be any shape and size and weight and it's still going to retain that spinal curve. So you don't need multiple sizes of gravity belt. One size fits all. Another layer is this neoprene foam. This is what aids in the gripping, but it also gives you comfort. So it's that comfort when you're sitting in it, when you're suspending in it. You don't feel strained or stressed. You're not being strapped in, so your rib cage isn't compressing. You can breathe, and that's very much of a key factor in order to relax. In addition to the neoprene and the Kydex, there's a GripTech material on the outside that also has a gripping action. The whole structure itself is shaped like a funnel when you're in it. And so the more you sink into it, the more you're gripped. But it's in a very gentle and safe and comfortable way. The thing that works about Gravity Belt is you're in control of this stretch. When you start to bend your knees and you start to get a stretch, you can say stop or you can keep going. You're in control, and that's part of the key to relaxing is the sensation that you're in control. Somebody else isn't manipulating your spine. You're in control. There's nothing more jarring than to have a chiropractor or somebody trying to give you a spinal adjustment when you're in pain. That only makes your muscles trigger more, as far as I'm concerned. So it's really a high-tech belt that's built for structurally so that it retains neutral posture at all times, regardless of weight and size. I knew once I did that, I had to make some way, universal way, to connect it and attach it and suspend the belt. And so I developed this, what I'm calling a gravity hook. It's a stainless steel welded shape. It's got a friction buckle built into it. And so there's no moving parts. You can adjust it that simple. You can adjust it down. You can adjust it up. Adjust it up. Adjust it down. Adjust it up. And I've tested it to over 550 pounds. This will lift a car engine. I guarantee it. And this 2-inch nylon webbing is way overkill for even a 500-pound weight. In addition to this gravity hook, I developed this gravity bar, which works in any doorway. You can see this is just a 2 before construction, and yet this was tested to over 550 pounds, and there's no problem. I could lift a car engine with this thing. But it's cool because it's out of the way hidden when it's not in use. And it doesn't take up a lot of space, unlike a pull-up bar, which works too, or an inversion table, which takes up a ton of space. When it comes to living in an apartment or something, you could even use this, and it would work. Now, the gravity hook is also able to just take a carabiner. So you could take a chain link or a carabiner and maybe some chain or webbing or rope and tie it around, for instance, a rafter or a floor joist. There's any number of ways you can be creative, like in your basement, for instance, and suspend yourself as well. So I made it so that you can use it 3 ways: pull-up bar, gravity bar, and chain link. So there's virtually unlimited places and ways you can suspend yourself, and that's not a hard thing to do. Well, there you have it. I'm really excited about this gravity belt. It's saved my life, and I want to share this with the world. I think it's going to impact millions of people. All of us who experience back pain don't need to. It's a simple 2-minute stretch every day.
So I've been using a gravity belt for over a year. It's really helped fix my back pain. My name is Billy Dunstan, former Marine Ranger. I have a bachelor's of science in sports medicine, and I use a gravity belt to decompress my spine. I have back pain from the military, jumping out of planes. I used to bodybuild, and then with jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of joint manipulation and just being compressed and kind of springed over a lot of the time. So I use gravity belt to basically do the opposite. So that's decompressing myself, stretching out, and making sure that I have both sides of my body covered.
So I'm really able to stretch, to relax, and allow that muscle group to relax and stretch as it's designed to, in a way that I can't do any other way.
How does it feel?
It feels amazing. So I use this daily throughout my day, be it training with clients or training myself, lifting heavy weights, or just moving. My lower back takes a beating. Being seated for hours a day is another thing that really affects the lower back. When I get in this, I come to work every morning and I spend maybe 2 or 3 minutes just hanging. It feels like I'm being stretched in a way that I almost feel taller after I use this apparatus, the gravity belt. So I have nothing but praise for it. It feels absolutely amazing. I get tinglies in my toes, and I feel like not only am I able to stretch my spine, but all of the nerves that run through my spine are actually able to stretch out as well. I've got clients from 15 years old to 80, and my 80-year-old, it was amazing to watch him relax and to see his posture relax. And he reported feeling better when he got off of it. My name is Ron Bryan. I am the owner-operator of TrueFit Personal Fitness here in Vancouver, Washington.